I noticed the silence before I noticed the children. The driveway was full, my parents' car, my sister's UV, but the house felt paused, like a stage set between acts. Lights were on. The wreath was crooked the way my mother always left it. Music should have been playing. It wasn't. Then the boys appeared at the edge of the hallway, socked feet, one of them holding a controller that wasn't connected to anything. They didn't look scared. That was the part that landed hardest. They looked settled, as if this version of the evening had already been explained to them and accepted. "Hey," I said, too brightly, coat still on. "Where is everyone?" The oldest shrugged. "Grandma said you'd take care of us." That sentence didn't feel like a betrayal yet. It felt like a misunderstanding I could fix with a phone call. I checked the kitchen. Food prepped, half covered. Wine breathing for guests who wouldn't arrive. A schedule on the counter. My mother's handwriting, outlining bedtime, screen limits, allergies. Careful, thoughtful, planned. My phone rang while I was still standing there. They were laughing when I answered. Wind noise, unfamiliar brightness in their voices. My mother spoke first, already mid-sentence, as if we'd been talking all along. "We decided to surprise you," she said. "We're in Hawaii." My father added, "You needed a real Christmas experience." They framed it as a gift. Growth. Perspective. Something about how I didn't have my own family yet, how this would be good for me. When I said I hadn't agreed to this, there was a pause, brief, irritated, then my mother's tone cooled. "You're always so rigid," she said. "We knew you'd manage." I looked down the hallway. The boys had turned the TV on, volume low, already accommodating the adults they expected to be around them. I could have stayed. That was the dangerous part. I was capable. I knew how to make pasta, how to enforce bedtime, how to be calm when someone cried for their mother at night. I had been trained, over years, to step in smoothly when others stepped away. But something in the call made it clear this wasn't an emergency. It was a test I hadn't agreed to take. I told them I couldn't do this. My father sighed like I was embarrassing him. My mother said, "Don't be dramatic, it's one night." It wasn't about the night. It was about how easily they had handed me responsibility and flown away. I ended the call without resolving it. The house felt warmer, too warm, like a place sealed shut. The boys needed dinner. I made it. They needed reassurance. I gave it. I sat on the floor and helped with a puzzle, listened to stories about school. I didn't punish my parents by neglecting the children. That was never an option. After they were settled with a movie, I stepped into the quiet kitchen and called the non-emergency police line. My voice sounded strange to me, flat, careful, almost professional. I reported unattended minors. I gave the address. I said their guardians were out of state. I said I was present, but not a legal caretaker. There was a pause on the line, the kind that means someone is typing. "Stay where you are," the operator said. "An officer will come by." I felt something loosen then. Not triumph. Permission. The officers were calm, neutral. They asked questions the way people do when they're used to being believed. They looked at the schedule on the counter. They asked for names, ages, phone numbers. One of them knelt to the boys' level and explained that everything was okay, that they were just making sure everyone was safe. No one raised their voice. No one accused. The situation was simply named. My phone started buzzing while the officers were still there. I didn't answer. I didn't need to explain anything. The facts were already present, written down in someone else's notebook. Eventually, arrangements were made. Another relative was contacted. The children were handed over gently, with jackets zipped and reassurances repeated. I watched from the doorway, hands in my pockets, feeling both hollow and steadier than I had all evening. After they left, the house looked abandoned in a different way. Decorations still on. Food still waiting. But the responsibility was gone. I went home. The calls kept coming the next day. Anger, disbelief, something close to panic once they realized this wasn't something they could smooth over with a joke. I listened more than I spoke. When I did speak, I said the same thing each time. I was not available to be assigned. There was fallout. There always is when a pattern breaks. But there was also a quiet I hadn't felt before. Not loneliness, clarity. I hadn't ruined Christmas. I had returned something that was never mine to carry alone. Some relationships don't collapse loudly. They shift, and the silence afterward tells you exactly where the line now is. I keep that line.